Ontario's Environment Commissioner expresses reservations over a major Northern Ontario development. Business picks up at the Canada Post sorting station. And preparations in full swing for a Thanksgiving feast.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, more than a dozen environmental concerns with the development in the Ring of Fire are included in a new report from a government watchdog.
The Environmental Commissioner of Ontario handed in his summary to the province yesterday, and it outlines potential environmental effects on water, land, fish, and wildlife in the area. Dennis Ward has more.
In his report, Environmental Commissioner Gord Miller says the construction and operation of the mines, transportation corridors, and transmission lines may all have significant environmental consequences in the far north. Before moving ahead with any construction, he believes the government should understand the possible repercussions. Miller calls on the province to commit to long-term environmental monitoring for the far north. He also recommends establishing an environmental review and permitting process for the Ring of Fire that addresses impacts. Matawa CEO David Paul Achini-Penescum says the report echoes and validates the position of First Nations in the area.
As Matawa, we told you so, a long time ago that this process has to begin properly with our people. So I hope that the Ontario government takes the recommendation seriously.
Minister of Northern Development and Mines Michael Gravel says he welcomes the report, but he says the government knows how important protection of the environment is and believes the province will ensure that happens.
The environmental assessment process is going to be is indeed a crucial one in terms of the development of the Ring of Fire and in terms of any resource development that's taking place in the far north. Clearly, Mr. Miller feels that we need to be perhaps more precise and more detailed in that regard.
The report says the Ring of Fire will change the far north forever and that an environmental monitoring program must be in place to make informed decisions. This will be a challenge, says the Commissioner, because the data may reveal politically inconvenient or undesirable environmental realities. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
Meanwhile, Gravel is also responding to allegations the Wynne government is delaying a decision on Thunder Bay's generating station. The claim comes from NDP leader Andrea Horwath. She believes the Liberals will hold off on any announcement about the conversion until the next provincial election, expected next spring. The Minister of Northern Development and Mines again emphasized the need for energy in northwestern Ontario. According to Gravel, he continues to work with Bill Morrow and Energy Minister Bob Shirelli to ensure the right decision is made, but he declined to address Horwath's allegation directly.
The minister is very keen to move forward on that. I spoke to him about potentially having a meeting with the Northwest Energy Task Force. I think that's something we will want to set up in the future as well to have that discussion.
Gravel also discussed the controversial gas plant closure audit. He says he wasn't privy to any dollar figures in advance and the decision was not made at the cabinet table.
The Centennial Conservatory is once again closed because of falling glass. Late this afternoon, several panels broke and sent shards of glass into the safety netting inside the Tropical House viewing area. City officials say the malfunction of a roof vent at the conservatory caused the glass to break. However, it's still unclear what caused the vent to fail. No one was injured as a result of the falling glass, but in the interest of safety, the conservatory has been closed to the public and will remain closed until the repairs are finished. They're likely to be done by early next week.
Canada Post has made a recent change that will bring all regional mail to Thunder Bay, then sorted and delivered. Spokesperson John Kane says the change will make it easier to bring all bulk mail and sort it with one machine rather than separating it by hand in each community. The local plant on Alloy Drive has a new machine that can sort 30,000 pieces of mail per hour. The changes will benefit Canada Post when it comes to cost reduction and efficiency. Customers won't see any major changes. However, they now can drop off all their mail into the same box. Previously, customers had to separate the regional mail from their long-distance mail and place them in separate mailboxes.
Well, many people are heading south to enjoy the long weekend in the United States, but those traveling across the border are advised to pack an extra measure of patience. U.S. border officials say visitors can expect delays when they hit the Pigeon River crossing. Border services have not been impacted by the U.S. government shutdown, but with a large number of people crossing into the States this weekend, travelers may have to wait for an extended period in order to get through. Wait times should be under an hour. Officials are reminding everyone to have their passports at the ready.
Stillwater, Canada has been asked for more information on the potential environmental impact of its proposed mine in the Marathon area. The delay will push back the process about 3 months. The company is getting close to completing this part of the feasibility study, and soon Marathon residents will get the chance to have their say. Nate Jones reports.
Behind these gates and below the earth, there is a potential $3 to $4 billion in palladium and copper, and there are 300 to 400 jobs waiting to be created. It's getting close to a year now that Stillwater, Canada has been working on the mine's feasibility study. The last review in July from the joint panel called for more information regarding the environmental impact, delaying the process.
When it comes back for clarification as it is right now with Stillwater, the clock stops. So it could go longer than 2 years, and that's the frustrating part I think the public is not following, is because they're not fully aware of the process, not following along. It just seems like a long, dragged-out process.
Dumas says so far there's been great support for the project from the residents around Marathon and the Aboriginal community in Pick River. Currently, Stillwater is in the process of addressing the panel's latest information request.
Was focused on the geochemistry of the rock, the groundwater, what its supply is and what its recharge is, the human health effects from the project. Obviously, the fisheries in the water are always right up there at the top end, so we're also concerned about those. Some issues around the caribou.
And the list goes on. After all the required information is submitted, the panel has up to 3 months to reach a decision on whether to move forward. In the next process, government ministers have another 4 months on whether to give the project the green light. In the meantime, Mayor Dumas will be welcoming the fast-approaching public open houses.
All goes well that the date would be announced and would hopefully be December or early January of 14.
The panel is expected to submit the requested information by the end of the month. If all goes well, Stillwater hopes to get the project moving in about a year. Nate Jones, TBT News.
For many, gambling is nothing more than a fun hobby, but for those who struggle to play within their means, it often becomes a problem that can quickly spiral out of control. The Responsible Gambling Council wants people to know the risks and make informed choices when they choose to gamble. The organization currently has a booth set up at the OLG Casino. Passers-by spin the wheel and answer a responsible gambling trivia question from one of the 5 corresponding categories. Project coordinator Heather Lee says many gamblers don't know when to stop.
We do know that most people who gamble can do so safely, but there are 3.4% of the population that, could experience a moderate to severe gambling problem. So it's really important to get the message out there so that people obviously have the information necessary to gamble wisely.
It's all part of Problem Gambling Prevention Week. Council staff are at the casino tonight until 9 o'clock and will be back on site again tomorrow.
Premier Kathleen Wynne says the province is putting its money on the horses to the tune of up to $400 million over 5 years. The funding, recommended by a panel appointed by the Liberal government, says is what's needed to help save Ontario's struggling horse racing industry. It would mean $80 million per year starting next April, most of which would cover purses in the cost of live racing. But the Tories say rural Ontario has already been devastated by the Liberals' move last year to cancel the Slots at Racetracks program that brought the tracks about $345 million.
Thunder Bay Walmart stores wrapped up their fundraising effort today for the local Red Cross. They set a $10,000 target last year, and they actually managed to more than double that goal. Just over $23,000 was raised, and the money will stay right here in Thunder Bay. The Red Cross disaster management team was on hand to announce that our 3 locations raised the most money of all Walmarts across the country. Robert Kilgore is the district manager for the local Red Cross. He says it was quite a thrill to announce that hefty sum, and it will be put to good use.
To give them the equipment that they need to do the job. I think that people are starting to see that in terms of disaster response, it's not as simple as just going out. There is extensive training that needs to take place. So multiple courses to prepare you to be able to step into those roles, working with vulnerable people, and to be able to provide the best services possible.
The Memorial Avenue location was given a blanket to keep at their store, which was signed by every Walmart manager across the country.
Thanksgiving weekend is almost upon us. That means time with family and friends, and for most, a turkey dinner with all the fixings. But for those less fortunate, that's not always the case. So as they do every year, the Salvation Army is preparing a feast in hopes of getting everyone their share of turkey and stuffing. Members of the Thunder Bay Professional Firefighters Association were on hand peeling potatoes today. 150 pounds of spuds and 15 turkeys are all well on their way to being ready for Sunday afternoon's meal. The menu also includes stuffing, mixed vegetables, and pie for dessert. Kevin Anderson is with the Firefighters Association. They've been supporting the dinner for years by buying the food and providing volunteers. Anderson says it's a great time of year to give back to the community.
It's very special. A lot of the firefighters bring their families and children, and it's a very important message to show that we need to support the community. You know, a lot of poverty is growing in our community, so it's important. And if we can give back a little bit, we just feel very happy to do that.
We can go home and we can have our turkey dinner and we can take it for granted and we can sit there and think about all the good stuff we have. And we could feed sandwiches and maybe feed more people that way. But there's something special about saying to the folks in our community who may not have turkey dinner otherwise, you know what? This is special and we want you to be able to celebrate the way everybody else does.
Over 300 people are expected to attend the dinner. It gets underway on Sunday at noon until 3 o'clock.
It's like a pretty good feast, I must say.
Making me hungry.
Well, this being a long weekend and cooking turkey, it's a good way to heat the house because things are starting to cool off, aren't they, Fiona?
Yeah, a few degrees every day. The temperature is definitely dropping and not as much sunshine today. You can see the clouds kind of building into the region, and in the last few hours, most of it has been moving in. Embedded in all this cloud cover is definitely precipitation. It is working its way in. Some parts of it heavy, but that's further to the west. And despite the cloud cover, we still managed a high of 17 Celsius, a few degrees down from yesterday and, of course, the day before. And that's with winds from the east-northeast at times gusting up to about 28 kilometers per hour, so a little bit on the cool side with that direction of the wind. At this hour, we're at 14 Celsius in Thunder Bay, and still a little bit of sunshine to the northwest, but the clouds are definitely being felt more in Fort Frances and all the way up to Greenstone. But temperatures not too bad to the west. Sault Ste. Marie at this hour is at 16 Celsius. Tonight, all that cloud cover is actually going to hold in a little bit of heat. So tonight it should actually be a little bit milder than it was last night. Last night we had a low of 4 Celsius. Tonight, probably around 11 Celsius, staying in the double digits. But with that, some stray showers is what the meteorologists at AccuWeather are referring to it as. I'm not quite sure why they're stray, if we're going to try to corral them or anything, but they are stray showers for the next few hours. And then on Saturday, the system moves through. It's a fairly narrow band at points of the system. So it's going to cause some pop-up showers possibly throughout the day tomorrow, but it is expected to move through by Sunday. So the majority of your weekend, you should be able to put away the umbrellas. The downside of it is behind the system are some kind of cool pockets of air. I'll have more details on that later on in the news hour.
Thanks, Fiona. Well, the country's latest job numbers are out. We have more on that story coming up right after the break.
To resolve the situation in the United States would have global consequences.
For the first time in almost 5 years, Canada's unemployment rate has dropped below 7%. But the good news isn't being widely applauded.
That's because fewer than 12,000 jobs were actually created last month, and it doesn't appear the economy is about to take off. Howard Gould reports.
At a youth employment center, Philip Lawrence is searching for a job. He works just 1 day a week now. He's been looking for something better for a long time.
Well, 9 months. Pretty much 9 months of hard looking.
Canada's unemployment rate has fallen to 6.9%, but largely because in September, many young people stopped looking for work.
Oh, young people are very skeptical. They've lost hope. They're pessimistic.
The best thing about September may be that it broke a string of strange job reports, with huge job losses followed next month by equally huge gains.
This is mediocre, not bad, cup half empty, cup half full.
But economist Avery Schenfeld says there is no guarantee that Canada's economy will keep just muddling through now. The partial shutdown of the U.S. government could be trouble. Hundreds of thousands of workers haven't been paid and presumably are spending less, just when Canada's economy needs a boost to create sustainable jobs.
We can't just keep building ourselves condos. We need some economic growth from exports, from businesses investing to grow their companies. And that critically now depends on getting the world economy, particularly the U.S., in gear.
Minister of Finance Jim Flaherty, at a meeting in Washington, signaled his concern.
A failure to resolve the situation in the United States would have global consequences.
And a new survey out from the Bank of Canada is adding to the gloom today. It shows companies aren't keen to invest and expand. The long-awaited boom in business spending and hiring still on hold. Howard Gould, CBC News, Toronto.
2 Canadians detained in Egypt are on their way home.
50 days inside, 3 days outside. We thought we'd say hi.
So, hi. Hi to all of our friends.
John Grayson and Tarek Lubani left Cairo this morning and are expected to land in Toronto this evening. They were released on Sunday after 7 weeks in prison. The men were initially stopped from boarding a plane to leave the country, but Egyptian officials yesterday confirmed they were free to go.
The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded this morning in Oslo.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided that the Nobel Peace Prize for 2013 is to be awarded to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, for its extensive work for eliminating chemical weapons.
The OPCW is now overseeing the destruction of chemical weapons stockpiles in Syria. The Peace Prize is being called a moral booster for the teams on the ground, and it comes just days before the Syrian regime is expected to sign the treaty banning chemical weapons.
After 178 years, the Kingston Penitentiary shut down last month, but that's opened its doors to tours hosted by the Kingston United Way. It's been so popular, it's sold out of 9,000 tickets for the tours. Omar Dabagi-Pacheco brings us an inside look at Canada's most notorious penitentiary.
From the moment you walk into Kingston Penitentiary, cameras are everywhere. Someone is always keeping a close watch. The prison's former warden says new inmates could expect a loud welcome.
You know, they'd get the, I can't wait to see you, or I can't wait to talk to you, or banging on the bars. Big one is banging on the bars because it's a rather loud, obnoxious sound and it's intimidating.
Among those who called these halls home, Paul Bernardo, Russell Williams, and Clifford Olson. And in this room, one of the darkest, most violent chapters in the prison's history. April 1971, conditions were bad, a riot broke out. Inmates found 14 prisoners who had been segregated for their own protection.
Tied them to circles around pretty much where this building is, tied them to chairs and carried out a mock trial and began torturing them in front of 600 men around these railings.
They ended up killing 2 of those men.
These are the segregated cells, and inmates who were particularly violent, who maybe assaulted another prisoner or a guard, were brought here from anywhere from 1 to 100 days. And as you can see, everything in this room is bolted down.
And of course, there have been prison breaks. In 1999, the first successful escape, Ty Khan hid in the carpentry shop, fashioned a hook, and built a ladder.
Other inmates on the block were manipulating his cell between the counts, so it looked like he was present with the dummy there and everything.
He was found 2 weeks later in a Toronto basement and died during a shootout. But many of the prisoners became seniors here, even requiring special cells to accommodate disability. This is what many in these cells would have called home for life. And this is the Metal Dome. This is where inmates would work in the metal shop, making wages of about $6.95 a day. For now, all the inmates have been absorbed by other prisons. As for the building, some have proposed it remain a heritage site. Others suggest it be replaced as a residential and sporting facility once its gates close for the final time. Omar Debegi-Pacheco, CBC News, Kingston.
Police in Edmonton have talked about having a high-risk sex offender extradited from the United States, but one expert says it's not worth the trouble. Lawyer Gary Botting of Coquitlam, BC, says the extradition process could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Michael Stanley wouldn't face much jail time. Stanley cut off his monitoring bracelet and ran for the border and is now in Washington state. The 48-year-old convicted sex offender has committed violent crimes against women and children.
The family of a Calgary man killed on a plane crash in Antarctica is asking their son's body be left where it is, on a steep, snow-covered mountainside. There's been talk about possibly trying to recover the bodies of 3 Canadians who died in that crash. Until now, the family of the plane's first officer, Mike Denton, has grieved privately, but now his mother has sat down with Carolyn Dunn.
There's no doubt this has been the toughest 9 months of Carol Denton's life. She wasn't prepared for how exhausting her grief would be.
Because, we don't have their bodies and it's so far away. And so I think coming to terms with it is certainly a lot harder for us.
Her son Mike was the first officer of a Twin Otter plane that crashed into a mountainside in Antarctica last January. Pilot Bob Heath and engineer Perry Anderson also died. Unrelenting weather closed in. A recovery mission was impossibly dangerous.
These were the first pictures that
Carol Denton has found some relief in an unexpected place. Pictures of the remote mountainside where her son died.
It gives me a sense of the beauty and the peace.
Mike Denton was 25, a newlywed married to wife Carlin just 4 months earlier. After Mike's death, the Denton family's story took another cruel turn. Alberta's June floods practically destroyed their home and many keepsakes of their son.
It's a huge loss, and so you do go through grief, and in our case, the grief overlaps because amongst all the stuff, we would come across something of Mike's, and then, that would be the end of me for the day. I couldn't do it anymore.
It might be easier for this mother to have a grave for her son, but Denton doesn't want anyone to attempt to retrieve his body.
We really do not want anybody else risking their lives to do the recovery. It's not something that we want, and I know it's not something Mike would want. I think that they're buried in a very sacred spot and beautiful spot, and it does bring us a lot of peace, sort of knowing that.
Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, near Calgary.
Some Canadian high school science students are taking their experiments beyond the classroom. They're helping their community deal with real-life challenges like fish parasites and blueberry fungus. Stephen Punneycombe has more on the impact they're having.
École Secondaire de Clare is different from most high schools in Nova Scotia. This one has a fish hatchery.
Totally surprised. I have never been to a high school with a fish hatchery embedded in the middle of it.
What began as a little project for students at the school has evolved into an award-winning environmental education program. And the students don't just breed a few fish and set them free, they also help scientists with their research.
I study the parasites of trout in this system.
Tens of thousands of trout and salmon have been reared and released into the Matagan River.
The entire community really is rooted around that river. And really the situation with the fish, the parasites, and the environment of the river it's really not good lately.
The students get hands-on experience in studying the life cycle of brook trout and Atlantic salmon. And also work on problems affecting those fish.
The problem we're having is acid rain. So by increasing the population and and looking at the ecosystem, it can give us more information of what's there and how it's recovering.
The program has changed a few young lives.
It's just a really interesting class, and I find that people aren't aware of the importance of the environment and how some things can affect the long run.
The work here has been recognized internationally.
Roland has published a paper in an international journal based on the work that we have done based out of the high school, some of which the students help. Now, the student work has not been published, but it will be in the years to come.
Stephen Puttycombe, CBC News, Meteghan River, Nova Scotia.
The dream was to have a Palace of Versailles in Vaughan, Ontario. That dream became an almost $18 million mansion with 3 kitchens, an indoor pool, even a Ferrari room. It was a labor of love for one couple, but now it's on the market. Shannon Martin takes us inside for a look.
Come on in and welcome to 90 Rockmary Place.
Step inside and you're at a loss for words.
Speechless. Wow doesn't even seem to do it justice.
Absolutely.
From the marble floors to the 24 gold-plated chandeliers.
All the ceilings have been hand-painted, all inspired by, of course, the artwork in Versailles.
Every detail handpicked by the homeowners.
They were the architects, the designers, the decorators. They really had their hand in everything.
The labor of love took 5 years to finish. 7 bedrooms, 3 kitchens, an indoor pool, and the showstopper, a balcony built just for a fairy tale wedding.
It's hard to believe that this was all inspired by the desire to have a kiss on a balcony.
This is that magical moment. The homeowners who wish to remain anonymous shared this wedding photo with us.
It was more than just a kiss. It was a reflection of our love. The kiss was almost like everything coming together.
Her Venetian wedding gown now proudly displayed in the master bedroom. But after 2 years, the couple is ready to move on.
We're very adventuresome and we're very romantic. And we do have other ideas that we want to accomplish within our life. So that's why we're selling the home.
And you can entertain a huge dinner party.
Broker Michelle Shipper says the potential buyer will likely be international.
Not every room is designed with the Renaissance in mind.
This is the ultimate man cave, or as the owner calls it, the Ferrari room, complete with a Ferrari.
This is a fully heated garage, marble flooring.
So far, the only offers have been from couples looking to say I do at the mansion.
I think it's every woman's dream to have a kiss like that on a balcony with her handsome prince.
Shannon Martin, CBC News, Vaughan.
And Randy, you were just saying during that, you've got your own Ferrari room as well.
Yeah, I thought I was the only one who had one of those.
Yeah, well, no, apparently you've got a soulmate there.
Yeah.
Oh, you see that.
Before the break, let's take a look at today's market activity. The TSX slipped 2 points to 12,892. New York saw the Dow jump 111 points to 15,237, and the Nasdaq posted a 31-point gain, climbing to 37.91. Our dollar was up 4 cents to 96.58 cents US. Gold dropped $28 to $1,268 an ounce, and oil was down $1 to $102 per barrel.
Well, it's definitely a rough start to the year for the Thunderwolves hockey team. Maybe this is a good time to start a new beginning.
Yeah, starting their OUA campaign after an 0-3 preseason. Randy, they're certainly hoping to get off to a better start here tonight.
Well, exhibition games, you know,
against a couple of tough teams.
Yeah, you're instituting your systems and stuff like that. Yeah. And if you've got basically a new team, sometimes it takes a little while to gel.
Yep.
But I think they got the right opponent to kick off their season on the right note. Your Lakehead Thunderwolves will begin their OUA season at home tonight against Royal Military College. The Paladins won just 3 times last season, and they have never beaten the Wolves at the Gardens. RMC did show some signs of life in the preseason, knocking off 10th-ranked Trois-Rivières last week. The Wolves, meantime, went 0-3 in non-conference. They scored only 3 goals and allowed 18. Coach Bill McDonald wasn't pleased with his team's positioning when retreating into the defensive zone. It's something they worked on in practice this week.
We have shortcomings when we're coming back into our own end, and that's what the direction drill was kind of. And you know what? These guys are so hungry, and if one of his somebody makes a mistake and he thinks he can get it, and he tries to support the guy that made the mistake, and it turns into a cluster. So that's our biggest downfall so far. Is you know, we're good when we're in their own end. It's just when we're coming back into the zone.
Whether it's guys trying to do a little bit too much, working a little bit too hard, opposed to working a little bit smarter and trying to do a little bit more than what they should be doing. I think a lot of it's repetition, like we worked on in practice. It's about stopping in your position, having a look for your surroundings, opposed to puck watching. And obviously, earlier in the season, everyone's hungry to do that extra job and get the puck out, but you got to be smart about it, and that's what we're working on.
Well, the National League Championship Series starts up tonight in the Gateway City as the St. Louis Cardinals send Joe Kelly to the mound against the Dodgers' Zach Greinke. It says here the Dodgers in 6. Last night, the American League Division Series would conclude. The Tigers would break on top in the 4th inning off ace hurler Sonny Gray. Miguel Cabrera absolutely hammers this pitch over the left field wall. It's a 2-run shot. You can make it 2-0 Detroit. The visitors load the bases later in the inning, but Sonny gets out of it as Omar Infante grounds out to short. Top of the 6th now. The Tigers will go up by 3 as Infante hits into the fielder's choice. It does the job as Victor Martinez scores. The crowd goes silent. And the big reason for that, Tiger starter Justin Verlander, who would lose his no-hit bid with 2 out in the bottom of the 7th. Yoenis Cespedes comes up with a clean single. The Tigers win it easily 3-0. They'll go on to meet the Boston Red Sox in the ALCS. That starts up tomorrow. Today, the Pan Am Games Organizing Committee voted on who will host the games in 2019. If you guessed Lima, Peru, step to the front of the class. Toronto was hosting the games in 2015, but the city, not exactly, they don't really have the Pan Am fever. Already, there is controversy over how much is being spent and who is receiving the money. Peter Armstrong reports.
It would be an understatement to say the Pan Am Games lack a certain amount of sizzle. Before today's winner was announced, the Pan Am Games Committee heard last-minute pitches from the finalists. It was decidedly low-key. Now, what it lacks in showmanship, it makes up for in substance. It'll be the biggest sporting event Canada's ever hosted, far bigger than the Vancouver Olympics in number of athletes and number of events, showcasing some of the biggest names in sport. And yet, the Pan Am Games struggle to capture the imagination of a broader audience.
It's going to be a battle.
Canada's new chef de mission for the Pan Am Games in Toronto knows the challenge. He's a 3-time Olympic medalist and won gold at the Pan Ams in 1987.
This is going to be tireless work. Getting people to really understand what these games are is going to be something very, very challenging.
Especially challenging amid accusations the games are misspending taxpayer dollars.
They're nickel and diming the Ontario taxpayer.
Opposition politicians outraged over a $7 million bonus package for 64 executives and stories of expense claims for puny items like a 91-cent parking tab.
This was a mud bath.
This longtime advocate of amateur sport says critics just aren't looking at the big picture. Billions of dollars in infrastructure, a new rail link to the airport, an athletes' village ready to convert to social housing, and state-of-the-art sports complexes.
The criticism of the money is really a consequence of the undervaluing of amateur sport in this country and the undervaluing of an intercultural project like the Pan American Games.
There is still time to make people care about the Pan Am Games, 636 days to be precise, but judging by the mood here now, officials are going to need every last moment to turn opinion around. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, 6 games in the NHL tonight. 2 involved Canadian teams as Winnipeg welcomes Dallas and Calgary entertains winless New Jersey. Last night, total of 10 games and featuring 5 teams from Canada. What better way to start than Minnesota? They broke into the win column for the first time. Matt Cook knocks in the loose puck as the Wild would team the Jets 2-1. So sorry, Holly. Music City, USA, Jonathan Bernier, 36 stops. The Leafs shut out the Predators 4-0. A scary moment in the third. Toronto's Cody Franson hits the stanchion. He would leave the game bleeding heavily under his visor and would not return. Oilers hosting Montreal. Edmonton scores first, but the Habs respond with 4 in a row, including this nice one from Alex Galchenyuk off the 2-on-1. Yes, the Canadians win 4-1, Ryan. And the Sharks continue to have the Canucks number. Somebody named Matt Pelech scores his first NHL goal. It stands up as the game winner as San Jose thumps Vancouver 4-1. In high school senior boys football last night, Westgate romps 20-3 over Hammersholt, while Churchill knocked off St. Pat's 30-14. Week 16 in the CFL kicks off tonight with a big game in Calgary. The Stampeders can all but lock up top spot in the West with a win over visiting BC, who have had trouble running the ball lately.
Yeah, it just comes down to mental errors, you know, just not wanting it enough, and you know, it's something that needs to change, and we're working hard to turn that tide on that. So for us now, it's just again, it's all about the next week, and I don't know if you guys are watching practice today, but there's definitely more of an attitude and to attack it that way. So you know, for me, I just gotta trust the guys in front of me and trust the OC to have faith in me to keep getting the job done.
There's nobody else responsible except for the players on the field, and when given the opportunity to run the ball and we're getting stuffed over and over and we have to just keep throwing it, it puts us in a tough spot. So, I mean, we take the responsibility for that, and the power's also within our group as a line and as an offense to correct it.
Well, week 6 in the NFL kicked off last night in the Windy City. It's the Chicago Bears hosting the winless New York Giants. To say Eli Manning has struggled this year would not be a lie. That trend continued last night as the G-Men's quarterback was picked off 3 times, including this pick 6, and that would start the game, and it was all downhill after that. Bears quarterback Jay Cutler would connect with receiver Brandon Marshall not once but twice. Chicago improves to 4-2 with a 27-21 win over New York, who are now 0-6 for the first time since 1976. And Lakehead's volleyball team dropped its opener at a tournament in Hamilton, losing all 3 sets to Waterloo. Carmen Hutzel led the Wolves with 7 kills. Next up, they'll face Royal Military College tonight. Lakehead's women's basketball squad takes its perfect preseason record into Winnipeg tonight for their tournament opener against the host Westman. And the Coastal Steel Orioles are forced to Game 6 of the senior men's baseball final. They blasted the Daytona Dodgers 7-1 last night. Game number 6, by the way, will be, because of the long weekend, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock at Baseball Central.
Love this time of year, local sports season in full swing.
So much going on.
Yep.
Don't forget the Wolves tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I won't forget.
You'll be there.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Well, starting at 8 tonight on Global Thunder Bay, we have Parenthood with your full viewing lineup. Here's Hell Talk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, starting at 8 on Parenthood, Christina's job demands create a new dynamic with Adam. Then at 9 on Hawaii 5-0, to solve a murder, the team gets help from a conspiracy theorist. And at 10 on Bomb Girls, Lorna receives a telegraph telling her that her son is a war hero. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8, Marketplace puts Canadian moving companies to the test. At 8:30 p.m., Rick rides in the Friday the 13th motorcycle rally on the Rick Mercer Report. Then at 9, the Fifth Estate goes to Bangladesh to find out who made the clothes you're wearing. And at 11:35, George has Aussie hottie and True Blood actor Ryan Quanten. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, we've had absolutely beautiful temperatures this week, well above seasonal, Fiona, but it's looking like it might be time for some rain.
Yeah, some rain, time for more seasonal temperatures. All good things have to come to an end, apparently. Well, at least that's the rule in weather. So let's talk about what we had today before we talk about what we're losing. 17 Celsius, mainly cloudy skies, but with the winds from the east-northeast at times gusting up to almost 30 kilometers per hour, it felt a little bit cooler than 17, but yes, that is our high that we reached today. If we take a look what's going on in the west, fall is definitely settling in. Vancouver, cloud cover 11.7 in Prince George. Edmonton is currently at 11 Celsius and mainly cloudy in Calgary at just 7, so they're a little bit on the cool side. So we head into southern Saskatchewan. Saskatoon's at 12-11 in Regina under cloudy conditions, but there's a heavy rainfall warning in effect for areas along the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border where they could see up to 50 millimeters of rain. So it's no surprise that Winnipeg, not in that region, but close enough that they are still dealing with a whole lot of cloud cover. They could be seeing some rain tonight. But temperature-wise, not doing too bad, 20 Celsius at this time. As we head into southern Ontario, that's where the sunshine seems to be collecting. Toronto is currently at 17 Celsius. So as you can see, these are definitely above seasonal temperatures. And Toronto and even into Ottawa are going to see even warmer conditions for the first part of the long weekend. Saturday's looking in the low 20s, 22, 23 Celsius. It's after that it gets rainy and cool, so at least they'll have a day of really nice conditions. Quebec City currently at 12 Celsius. And Fredericton, another very warm day indeed. They hit 22, but there's definitely a cooler weekend ahead. Dry, sunny, but cooler weekend ahead. Halifax is in the same boat. Charlottetown currently at 10 Celsius. Hasn't seen quite the temperatures, but they're expecting a little bit of sunshine. However, St. John's, they're currently at 5 Celsius. It's been cloudy and cool all day after they hit a high of 7 after a low of 5, so the temperature's really not fluctuating a whole lot. It's just been cold and damp for most of the day. We take a look at this low that's been moving in. As you can see, it's been bringing in clouds, and as we head into tomorrow, we have kind of round 2 after round 1 heads out tonight. This is the part that could bring us a possibility of shower tonight. This is the one that gives us a possibility of shower for tomorrow. But as you can see, it moves through fairly quickly, and by Sunday, it's looking fairly dry. So the second 2 days of the weekend, definitely drier, but we are seeing a flow due to this high pressure center from the northwest, and that's going to keep things a little on the cool side. Wind-wise, that's going to be a little bit gusty, ranging from about 20 to 30 kilometers per hour most of the night, tapering off a little bit in the early morning hours. But then by the early afternoon, this is where it really kicks up, 30 to maybe 40 kilometers per hour for much of the afternoon. So it's going to be a little bit gusty tomorrow, which does not bode well for the temperatures. Now tonight, the possibility of showers, possible thunderstorm in the Fort Frances area, and then tomorrow, kind of a mixed bag, again, risk of showers. But these temperatures might feel a little bit cooler than what you're seeing because of those winds. Currently, we're at 13 Celsius under mostly cloudy skies. Tonight, a low of 11 with a possible stray shower, so let's help corral them in and get them into one area. 16 tomorrow under sun, cloud, and yes, a possible shower. So again, mixed bag. 5 on Saturday night, partly cloudy skies. 12 on Sunday, but winds are still up to 32 kilometers per hour. And then your holiday Monday, expanding cloud or increasing cloud, but only 9 Celsius. Unfortunately, these are the numbers you should get used to for this time of year. Could be seeing rain by the time you head back to work, but so far the weekend's not looking too bad temperature and sky-wise, all in all. So enjoy.
Well, there's a men in uniform night taking place next weekend. Fiona's nodding her approval off camera. I can see you there. There's dinner and a fashion show. Brent Hawley has all the details for you in tonight's edition of Front Row Center.
Well, hello, this is Front Row Center. I'm Brent Hawley, letting you know what's happening in the community of Thunder Bay. Ladies, this is a great night for you, or men, whatever. I'm not here to judge. We are talking about the Men in Uniform Night. That's right, you can wine, dine, and unwind with Thunder Bay's finest at the Victoria Inn. Be sure to check it out. There's going to be police officers, paramedics, soldiers, and a whole lot more in support for the Thunder Bay Military Family Resource Center. Now, the cocktail hour is from 5:30 to 6:30, and there's going to be a dinner afterwards. And finally, after that, a fashion show. Be sure to check it all out. And the after party is all happening down at Five Forks Restaurant. Again, you don't want to miss out on it. If you are looking for tickets, be sure to log on to keynoteevents.ca or check out their Facebook page. It's all happening Saturday, October the 19th.
Front Row Center is brought to you by Teleco. We hear you at Teleco, your TBT Tel authorized dealer, 601 Central Avenue.
There's no doubt there's a lot of wildlife in our area, and sometimes you like to go for a drive, see if you can see a deer, moose, or maybe even if you're in Montana, an elk. But the best way to see that is possibly on a motorcycle. We'll explain why. Stay with us. A close call for a couple in Montana. The two encountered this elk while they were riding their motorcycle on a highway in Montana. Unfortunately for them, the animal wasn't looking to make friends. Things got tense and the elk gave chase, but in the end, elk power was out to horsepower.
That elk looked like it meant business.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's all fun and games until you annoy an elk.
Well, and she was laughing. I don't think I'd be laughing if it was that
He
close.
heard. He
No.
heard her laugh.
Yeah.
No, that's yeah. I think that thing could do some damage.
Oh yeah.
We're recapping our top story now. The Environmental Commissioner of Ontario handed in his summary to the province yesterday, outlining more than a dozen environmental concerns regarding the Ring of Fire. In the meantime, that'll do it for your early look at news, weather, and sports. Log on to TB News Watch for all your news on demand. See you again tomorrow.